We often say that it's been a crazy week in AI, but there's nothing that has happened like the week that just passed. When it started with Google I/O, the big dog came out. They showed us some phenomenal stuff, bunch of stuff that I was excited about because it felt a little different from an I/O perspective. It kind of felt like it was almost more like reducing friction. Like, how do we actually bring the world along with us rather than, holy cow, look at this technology? But I'm not the person you should be asking, okay? There was one person who's on this podcast who was there, who was live, who got a special exclusive invite from Google, got to go to all the fancy parties, was there. Our own Jaeden Schaeffer was in the audience, hobnobbing with the influencers, everybody else. Jaeden, tell us what it was like and what you loved.
Wow, hobnobbing. That is definitely what was happening. No, okay, so I think this was cool. I made some posts and talked about it, and a lot of people's first response was that I'm drinking the Google Kool-Aid because I'm paid. I am going to say not sponsored by Google, but Google, if you want to sponsor the podcast, send us an email. I would not say no. So there's a bunch of cool things that I thought happened. And I, of course, will be a realist on, I'll give Google their flowers where it's due, and I'll tell you some of the areas that I think are like, I don't want to say less impressive, but like other people were doing them, so I'm not less excited about. Google did do some cool, innovative things. The biggest, I think, that a lot of people are talking about, and this is an easy one, which is kind of funny because it might not be something that we are all using like on a daily basis, but it's the VO3, the new video model. This was mind-blowing because what it was actually capable of doing was not just generating the video, which I'll say, like, I think it's one of the best video generators, period, but they go a step further and they do audio so that the characters that are generated are talking. It can do different accents. It can do sound effects in the background. So they showed like a video of like a sailor on a boat and he's talking and it's lip synced up with his lips and you could hear the waves in the background. This is, I think, like the next level of video. This is what it takes for video to actually cross into an incredibly useful face. We have the sound design, we have the audio. Like this is everything you could ever want. So I'm really excited about the video as one of their biggest, I think, breakthrough products.
Yeah, I mean, the video blew me away. I was even just trying to get my head around how they were doing all that with, you know, the sound and everything like that, because we've sort of seen these things cobbled together a little bit with 11 Labs, which is kind of a top class thing. And obviously, like, you know, Sora and everything else, there's all these great features. But I thought VO3 is the one that people are freaking out about. Jaeden, I wanted to get your take on this too, because so I was watching this from home, in my humble home in Connecticut, while Jaeden is sort of like, again, there with all the fancy Google food and everything like that. But the thing that I kind of kept getting struck by, I think, and I did, in fairness, I got a sneak peek beforehand. So the head of search, I got to meet with him the day before. Robbie signed, and we sort of sat down and he was telling me sort of like all this stuff so I could preview it before the day came out. So that's why I had this kind of big post ready to go. But also, yeah, we're not getting paid by Google, guys. This is just like big news, okay? It's like stupid when people are like, that's an ad. I'm like, it's an ad? Like, it's the biggest thing of all time. They don't need to pay us to do this. But anyway, my point around that is, what my biggest thing around this was like the whole AI mode. So my big thing around this tech is like, yes, it's awesome. Project Mariner is awesome. Project Astra is awesome. And Jaeden, maybe you could sort of like fill us in on a little bit what that sort of stuff is like in terms of agentic work and the shopping stuff and all that sort of stuff. But to me, the biggest thing is, how do you get this into people's hands, right? I mean, you know, Google has billions of eyeballs on it all the time. That's not the problem. The problem is that they don't know that AI is really a thing. I'm telling you, I'm out there all the time. Like, people do not know what this thing is capable of. So instead, you're always opting into AI mode and everything else. And what I was asking them when I had this interview with them the day before, which is off the record, but what I was asking them was all this stuff around, hey, like, how do you get this into people's, you know, how do you get this in front of people? Like, how do you start changing how people do search? Because, you know, Perplexity is coming up and OpenAI is coming up with all these new search engines and everything else. But Google, you're the name brand on this thing. This is how we Google things. So the thing that I was so impressed with was how they're doing this. So what it looks like is that they're starting to just sort of like push AI mode answers into people's feed, and more, and they're seeing a huge jump in people now asking a question like, hey, how do I plant that olive tree in my backyard if I live in the northeast part of the United States, or something like that, rather than olive tree plant cold weather or something like that. And that, to me, is the really interesting thing. It's the reduction of friction. So I know it's kind of boring, but I was psyched about that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that they are making some big strides. The thing I was actually impressed with was the fact that they said the Gemini app has 400 million monthly active users.
Yeah.
This is big because, of course, we know Facebook always says like, we have 500 million like users or whatever on Meta AI, but like they're like taking into account people that are just doing searches on like
Like actually
Instagram
running
search
into it.
bar. Like, come on, guys, this is not using like meta AI. I'm just trying to find like the username of a friend that I know, right? It's like if Google was counting everyone doing a search on Google is like Google AI, because
Right.
it's literally the exact same thing. People are looking for a username versus a website. Any case, this was impressive numbers. This is on their actual app. OpenAI has 600 million. Meta's a little murky, but 400 million is absolutely huge. I think this just goes to show, people are like, oh man, Google's getting their lunch eaten by OpenAI. They are coming up fast, and I will say the quality of their product is pretty decent with Gemini 2.5 Pro. So I would say do not count out Google. They're doing some pretty impressive things, and they're actually making big moves on the numbers. Okay, a couple other projects I wanted to talk about that I was so impressed with. The big one of the big ones would be their AI video. And I will also say, like, on this one, I'm not like just a fanboy for no reason on it. Like, I will admit OpenAI has had like a pretty awesome video experience as well on their app. So they're not like the first people that are doing it. It's a pretty decent product, but again, it's kind of hard to like hype it up too much when you're like, well, there's someone else that's already been doing it, so they're kind of second place on it. And you really want to get excited when they do something first place, like the video with the talking and the sound. They're first place on that. No one else does that. They're crushing it. They rolled it out at a cheaper model. So that's something I'm more excited about. But this, again, like they're making that Gemini app better and better. And if they have 400 million users on there, and maybe OpenAI has 600 million, but 600 million includes, I think, desktop for OpenAI. So they have 400 million just on the app. Like, this is going to make this app really good. And I would say, like, you'd be surprised by how many people are actually using this. No.
Who's that? Is that Project Baron? Yeah, that's the thing, right? So with all the numbers, Google's not going to have a problem with numbers. Do you know what I mean? Like that, I feel like the numbers game is a game that that Perplexity has to play, and that others have to play, and that maybe even Bing would probably have to play to sort of like see what it's capturing from Google or something like that. But Google has the numbers. They're not worried about I wouldn't worry about the numbers. What I would worry about is like, is their product actually, functional? And for me, that stuff around like Mariner and Astra and stuff like that and deep search. So the things, again, that I was sort of like getting kind of psyched about is, look, all these things were announced earlier. And I think Google and others are learning their lesson a little bit about announcing things way too far in advance. I think it's one of the things that OpenAI did well. They're getting away from it a little bit, I got to say. But is to sort of say like, hey, this is what we're announcing. And guess what? Go try it out right now. But like, Project Mariner with agentic stuff, right? Saying like, hey, I need 2 tickets to the, the Reds game, I think it was, or something like that. And it would just do that. And then, just, Astra, again, sort of as you're showing there on your screen, Jaeden, kind of like just showing it things. And, but the other thing that, Jaeden, when you and I met with Mustafa Suleyman over at Microsoft, right? I think one of the things that you were asking me, I thought this was so interesting, was about the technical difficulty of doing things like memory, right?
So overall, I've been super impressed by all of these updates out of Google. I just want to mention a couple other big ones that I think were pretty impressive. The number one thing that I think everybody is talking about is the new AI mode that they've now added to Google. So essentially, in the past, we had AI snippets at the top of the search results when you're talking to Google, but now they've actually gone a step further and realized, look, people don't just want one snippet and all the links below. They want a dedicated kind of AI mode where it's just like ChatGPT, or I guess more like Perplexity, I would say, which I know, Connor, you've been a big user of that. So you're probably, I'd love to get your take on like if this would actually replace it. But that AI mode, like that is its like direct competitor. And this is my prediction, but I want to get your take, Connor. My prediction is that they roll out the AI mode. It probably gets wildly popular. People are just going and getting the exact result, right? Because the AI mode, essentially it's searching through 20 different websites, gathering all of the information and creating like a response for you. My prediction is people are going to only use this. They're going to stop using the basic links. And at some point, I think Google is going to deprecate the original Google search and is just going to switch it for this AI mode. Maybe there'll be like a button where you can like try Google
Classic.
Original or Google Classic.
Exactly.
But I really think this is going to be what takes over at Google. And they have a monetization mechanism. They announced that they're going to put ads inside of this AI mode responses. So they're not worried about their ad business getting completely nuked if they have to do that.
So I think you're absolutely right. I think that, and again, for Google, it's one of these things where they already have everybody. Do you know what I mean? Like everybody's already looking at their screen. So for them, all they can put in front of people whatever they want. But people go to Perplexity and everything else. And I actually still really love Perplexity because I love the output of it. But people go to Perplexity because they're like, yeah, I don't want those links anymore. And I love this idea of like a Google Classic. So I guess maybe, so I think that they're doing a great job in rolling this out where they are sort of slowly switching out how people work, right, in Google. Jaeden, maybe the last thing on this for me, though, is what about citations? What about can you trust it? Because like one of the big things, and they got crushed for this, was like, putting glue on pizza whole thing, right? So I love AI mode. I think we trust AI mode. For those of us who are like used to it, we're like, it's sort of like getting in a self-driving car. We're like, no, I know it's safe. It's cool. But for other people, it's like, well, where's that coming from? How do I know to trust that? And I wonder if they're going to have a longer sort of like overlap of the two systems. And I think that they are going to have a stronger system by which they show the citations. I know they can show them, but I think that people early on will keep on going to the links because they're still worried about that glue on pizza thing. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, I think that this is where everybody's kind of heading.
Yeah. I think with Gemini 2.5 Pro, for the first time, it's like these results are serious. They're really good. Hallucinations are very low. And I have seen like some of the UI samples from this where, yeah, they're putting they're still putting the links at the top to articles that are cited kind of in the thing. And I think they're going to be working on the citation. So I think that will be a big element, but I think it will, it'll be a huge shift in how people use Google. So super excited about that. The last thing I wanted to really cover is they've made some huge steps in their competitor to ChatGPT Operator. So Project Mariner, the thing that I think is cool there is that essentially it's like an agent, right? You tell it to go do something. And I actually got to demo it and I talked to the people that are, building it at Google I/O. So I will have some caveats on this, but I'll give it its flowers first, which is that you can do 10 different agents running simultaneously. So you can have actually 10 different tasks all going at once, which is really useful. I think to like over at my startup AI Box, which is a AI playground that you can use a whole bunch of AI models on. We're developing a bunch of new features for it, and we use Claude Code to do that. And Claude Code is like an AI agent where you give it a task and it goes and does things inside. It knows your code base, it knows your UI design, and it builds things for you. It's really useful. One of the big issues with it, though, is you give it a task and it's going to spend 20 minutes. So you like, honestly, half the time are just kind of sitting there waiting to see what the results of that are. I love these tools where you can do multiple at once. We're not just, like if with Claude Code, you could give it like 5 different tasks. It could be doing them all simultaneously and making sure your code's all merged fine, which it typically isn't. But if it could do that, that'd be amazing. So I love that Google is doing this with their tool where you could do 10 different things at once. They have them all running simultaneously. How good is it at doing those tasks? I think that is the bigger question. I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's there yet. I was asking them about some capabilities. I was like, because we got this show. So I was like, okay, so like if I wanted to set this loose on Conor and I's show and, have it go log into our, our recording platform and edit the clip for us with the, my stipulations and download it and then re-upload it to Spotify so that it could like post it and like make the thumbnails and description, like could it do that? And they're like, I don't think it can do like all of that. And I'm like, come on. This is what I tried to use Operator for. And Operator honestly got like 90% there, but we just get some, it really did. This is what I was blown away by with Operator. Can download files and upload files, and they're doing it from a data center. And I think because like when it was doing it, I was seeing like the computer it was running off of. So I think it had like 500 gigs on the computer that it was running to do my tasks. So you could download files that are up to 500 gigs in size and upload them, download and upload. And it was instantaneous. Like I was downloading, a gigabyte and it was just like, boop, 1 second. So like they have, anyways, that's really cool there. So Google isn't quite there yet. Now, are they like, if OpenAI is seriously competing with that tool, Google's going to be there soon. Like they're going to get there. So I'm excited to see where these projects are, but probably in like 6 months to a year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and the good thing about that Google has is Gemini is extremely powerful. I don't tend to use it as a standalone app. I know, again, my colleague Robert Haslam, he uses Google probably more than any other tool at this point, which is wild to me. And when people love Gemini, they love it. Like I just still prefer sort of like a ChatGPT, a Copilot, a Claude, things like that. But we know that under the hood, what Gemini's, what Google's using for all these tools is Gemini. And that to me is a huge competitive advantage because that tool is unbelievably powerful. Listen, guys, Jaeden's going to be posting more about this. Check out his LinkedIn feed, check out his YouTube, everything else, because he has put a ton together around his experience at I/O. It was really cool. Super jealous I couldn't be out there with him. But listen, the best thing you can do to say thank you to Jaeden for all his globe-trotting to go get this news for you is to leave us a rating and review. We love it. We appreciate it. We're grateful for it. Have an amazing rest of your day.